Welcome to Rev.io Payments. If you've chosen to use Rev.io as your payment merchant, this is how you're going to manage that process. Rev.io Payments is built right into the Rev.io interface, and to get to the various reports, you would navigate to Home, and then there's a section if you have Rev.io Payments turned on, you'll have a section called Rev.io Payments. There's 4 different views here that you can see under the Rev.io Payments. Let's start with the settlement summary. So the settlement summary shows you for each date the funds that have been settled into your bank account. So each day that there is a settlement, you'll see a row for that. It'll show you credit card deposits, credit card refunds, and credit card chargebacks. It will also show you any e-check deposits, e-check refunds, and e-check returns here. And it'll show you the net settlement for each day. You can click into any of these dates to view the detail. This will take you into the activity report, which we'll talk about next, but it'll link you right there. I'm going to go back and then scroll to the top here. If you just want to see your settlement statements for a certain date range, you can enter a start date and an end date, and that would filter this to those dates. You can also keyword search here if you needed to do that. And you can also export this report in Excel or CSV format here as well. Once you enter your dates, if you want to run it for a range, you would just click Run Report, and that would filter the report for that date range. So let's navigate back up to Home, and this time let's look at that activity report, which is the report that you get when you click on one of the dates. So this shows you all the activity that's gone on in your account on a line-by-line basis. So it'll show you credit card deposits, it'll show you which credit card was used, whether that's Visa, Amex, Discover, MasterCard. It shows you the amount of the transaction, it gives you a reference number, it tells you your customer name and customer ID, it tells you the date of the activity as well as the settlement date. Let's click over here and see if I can find, here are some e-check deposits, so these are electronic checks. Anything that happens in the account you would see here on this activity report. Chargebacks and refunds, those would also show up here as well. It's the individual detail that happens on a day-to-day basis. And again, you have the same option here where you can filter it to a certain activity date range or a certain settlement date range, and you can run the report here. I'll point out here that credit card transactions take about 24 business hours to settle into your account, and e-check ACH transactions take about 48 business hours to settle into your account. So you'll have the activity date and the settlement date that you can filter on. And again, you can export this if you needed to here. Let's go back again and look at chargebacks and returns. And here you have the same filters as in the other reports. You can filter it by date range. And this shows any time an item is returned or charged back. You would see that here. There'll be a reference number. It'll tell you the payment type and the amount. It will tell you the customer ID and the customer name, and it'll give you a standard reason description. Invalid account, unable to locate the account, anything like that. Here's some chargebacks down here. Note that the chargebacks, you could see multiple records for a chargeback in this report as the activity changes. So this activity here that says assigned to merchant, those activity items can change throughout the life cycle of a chargeback. If you dispute a chargeback, it could take a couple of weeks for it to all get settled, and you'll see the activity item change based on that chargeback. So you could see a chargeback in here multiple times. So the process for using this chargeback and return report, Rev.io will be notified when there is a chargeback. We'll get all the information about that chargeback, the date, the amount, the customer, the deadline date for challenging a chargeback, and we'll create a ticket with that information in it, and someone on our Tier 1 team will notify you via that ticket with all the information and give you the deadline for challenging the chargeback. And then we'll ask you to get back in touch with us and let us know if you accept the chargeback or whether you want to challenge the chargeback. and then we'll coordinate with WorldPay whether you decide to accept or challenge the chargeback. For returns, you'll need to go into this report daily, every other day, whatever you're comfortable with. You're going to need to go into this report and look for all of your returns. And what you'll need to do when you see a return on your report, I'm in a demo site, so I have a lot of test data in here. But when you see a return check, you're going to need to navigate to that customer ID, and you'll have to go into the customer account and bounce the payment. So let's look at this customer here. So we'll go look at that account over here, scroll down to the bottom, look at the payment history tab here. You can see there's one check that was already bounced. If you go to the payment that you need to bounce and you click options, you have an option here to bounce or charge back. If you have a fee set up in your bill profile for this, then it'll show you the fee that's going to be charged and give you the option to bounce or charge back with the fee. You can also bounce it without the fee, or you can cancel if you need to get out. So if I click bounce and charge back, the system will create the $25 fee. It will bounce that check now, and it will put the fee on the account and automatically send a bill out to my customer to let them know that their payment bounced. If you don't want those bills to go out automatically, to show up in the Create Bills queue and be sent out, you can notify your account manager, and we can turn that behavior off if you want to handle that process manually. But just to reiterate, when you're looking at your chargebacks and returns report every day, every couple of days, anything that comes back as a return, you're going to need to go to that customer account, find the check, and then bounce that check to remove it off of the customer's account and add that amount back to the account so that their balance is correct. So to recap, any chargebacks that happen, you'll be notified because of the timeliness that's required in dealing with those. And then you'll get back to us with your decision whether you want to accept the chargeback or challenge the chargeback, and we'll handle that for you either way you choose to go there. For your return items, you need to monitor this report daily, at least weekly. You're getting the data in real time, so you want to make sure that as any checks are being returned, you're going into the customer account and bouncing those checks there to make sure that that's taken care of. So then we're going to navigate back to home and we'll look at the fees. There are fees associated with using Rev.io as your payment merchant, and this report here just shows you the fees that are going to be charged to you around the beginning of each month. So there'll be a monthly fee. That's a flat fee that you'll be charged. All of this is based on the contract that you signed with Rev.io when you started the process of using Rev.io as your merchant provider. Chargebacks and returns have a flat fee related to each of those. So you would see that over here. This will be a sum of all of these different fees. You'll see your credit card processing fees. So any of those percentage-based credit card processing fees would be summed up and you'd get that total here. Any e-check item fees, that's a per item fee for e-check. Those would be totaled here. And there could also be credit card item fees as well. Any of those fees that are related to your contract would show up here. You would get the total amount here, and then your bank account would be debited on a monthly basis from Rev.io for the total of your fees for using Rev.io Payment Merchant. According to industry standards, we do not have a breakdown of this fee report on an individual transaction basis. It's rolled up and handled in the totals and split out by the type of fee it is, and that's the lowest level of detail that we have for this report. So that is Rev.io payments in Rev.io. Thanks for watching.